I'm dying to find out what's in store for me here. Ha. I tell you, Drac, it's tough being straight man and comic relief. Where are you, my friend? What's this little goodie? Drac? Drac!
Skye was briefly distracted from her loneliness by this weird and painful rock. It's continuing to hurt us outside of the cutscene. So I'm gonna back off. And it didn't do me much good. Just being in the Gargoyle realms kinda hurts. Makes you wonder how Drac put up with it for so long. And makes it pretty obvious why he wanted to get out. It's also infested with worm drakes, as I fully expected. But luckily, in what I think is a great design move, only green worm drakes. There's no higher level worm drakes in here, and green worm drakes are a breeze at this point. There goes one breezing by right now. Okay, they're still annoying, but they go down very, very, very quickly. So overall, this level's looking up, despite the inherent misery of our increasingly gothic protagonist. I say that because her new costume is awesome, but very dark, and the level is also very dark, so it's very hard to see it here, but it gets a little brighter later on, and it's cool. Like a dream. I miss the days when worm drakes went down so easily. And those are the only enemies. We've still got these painful rocks floating all over the place. But their damage output is fairly negligible. And inconsistent for that matter. Here we have a door with some kind of lock. Kinda wanted to enter the crypt. Or Crypt, if that's more to your liking. We're probably going to have to find some kind of code. Now, before we get too far out of here, though, there are a bunch of gargoyles here in the Gargoyle realm. Who'da thunk? This one's familiar, so we should probably start with a familiar face. He's also got a tiny little worm drake as a friend. I'm not sure that's actually a worm drake, but it reminds me of one. I think it's actually a bat. It's small and cute. But we need to awaken this gargoyle. Because gargoyles can't seem to awaken themselves these days. They lack motivation.
Necroth's soldiers leave secretive messages for one another. Perhaps they dropped this. I know not.
The third word after bird is the one to seek, I've heard.
Well, without context, that's gibberish. Not of any use to us at the moment. So perhaps one of these three gargoyles will be more useful. I think next up we'll look at this one that isn't flashing for some reason. The other three are flashing. So maybe we can't interact with them at all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. To place that foul substance over one such as me. I thought my soul would be trapped forever.
That was no gargoyle at all. Some kind of hideous monster from which we collected garlic. Yep. Repels vampires. So that was a vampire, and we just set him free. Goodbye, vampire. He was appreciative at least, so maybe he won't kill us later. Moving right along.
Hi. Does the name Drac mean anything to you?
The only entrance to the great cathedral is a secret one. Explore, explore. You must pass through 4 ere you find the door.
Seems like that wasn't about Drac. Might just be me. It's also not a very useful tip. So, let's round things out with this last gargoyle, who is not holding anything. Look at his hands. No things in any of his hands.
Hello, friend. Do you know a gargoyle named Drac? About yay tall, mouth? Can you tell me what this thing is?
That blasphemy is a black vortex. Necroth has used them to secure our world in his noxious grip. No living being can remain healthy in their presence.
I thought I was feeling weaker.
Take this lantern. Use it to gather black vortices before they can sap your will to live. The prismatic glass will protect you from their sickly influence.
Well, I guess I was mistaken. He had a lantern in his hand all along. But now he doesn't, because he's handed it to us. And with this lantern, if we touch these black vortices, as it turns out they're called, they disappear. They go right into the lantern. We don't even have to have it equipped. We can have the garlic equipped. And we'll still eat black vortices. This will cause them to stop injuring us. We don't actually have to collect them, but it doesn't hurt, except for the fact that it literally does hurt. But regardless, nice to get them out of the way. And over here we have another locked door.
My life force is slipping down the drain.
Gothic Skye, getting depressed about the deadliness of the vortices. I do like that they correctly pluralize the word vortex. If we go to the edge, we can see a very Rallier-esque city in the distance. No gargoyles out there now, though. At least no movement that we can see. Right around the corner here is a graveyard. Fittingly creepy and thoroughly dilapidated. Except for one shiny, shiny stone. It means we can read it.
In loving memory of Cornelius Bird, though your pants no longer fit, and though the flies around you flit, though your odor's grown quite bad, to us you're still just dear old dad. Ooh, keep the day job in case the whole poet thing doesn't work out.
Oh, that's equally sad and rude. Now, it did mention that his name was Cornelius Bird. And the note we got, let's reread that.
The third word after bird is the one to seek, I've heard.
So, third word after bird. The first line was, Cornelius Bird, though your pants no longer fit. The third word there is pants. The crypt is locked with the word pants. But just because we've solved the puzzle doesn't mean we're done exploring. Over here is a familiar face. That vampire we set free is now trying to kill us. Not necessarily the same vampire, but pretty likely. So let's kill him back. His body just disappeared. That's unlike most enemies in this game. That's because the vampires have a ton of mechanics involved with them. It's best to learn them now. So vampires each have their own coffin nearby. It's usually glowing like this. When you kill a vampire, it returns to its coffin immediately. And you give it a few seconds, it'll pop back out of that coffin. You can see its corpse in there while it's in there. So what you want to do is equip your garlic. And put it into their coffin. There it goes. You can see the coffin itself is tainted with garlic. So he's not going back in there. Now we should just kill him.
A vampire's ghost? I put garlic on an empty coffin. Did I lock its spirit out instead of in? Help the good guys fight the bad. I always mess that up.
There we go. If we kill a vampire who cannot return to his coffin, he'll become a ghost and haunt us. And that ghost does some pretty serious contact damage. So let's free the garlic, grab it back into our inventory. That sets the vampire free again, reawakens it, to be killed yet a third time. Luckily they go down pretty easily. Then you put garlic on the grave. He's never getting out of there again. So they're pretty simple to deal with, but there's just so much to learn about them. It's an odd choice, but it makes for a neat enemy. And of course, I have to quote the manual verbatim here. The first line about vampires is, "This ain't no Anne Rice flick, and no one will mistake these dudes for Tom Cruise." That just had to be shared, I thought. I mean, it's accurate. Not sure that's a point of reference for anybody in this universe, but close enough. Now, to type in pants. It's a bit of tedium to it, especially if you miss your letter, because you can't go back, you can only go forwards. So you gotta loop the whole alphabet. And of course, the last letter is T, so we gotta loop that whole alphabet anyway. But now we may enter the crypt. And as you can imagine, there are gonna be some vampires in the crypt. Kinda their homeworld. We could magnify magic, take him down in 2 shots instead of 3. But they're sparse enough that we can afford 3 shots every so often. Ah, there's the other trick. Once you've agitated a vampire, earned its ire, it will teleport to your location, no matter where you go. So you can't get away from them, you have to use the garlic. And if you activate too many vampires, don't garlic them,
My life force is slipping down
things
the
can
drain.
get pretty dangerous. Because a single vampire is basically harmless. A whole army of them will kill you very, very quickly, though. And in here, next to the grave, is some garlic already. Even though we have infinite uses of the original garlic we collected. This is just in case you missed that garlic, which is actually possible. They want to make sure you're not completely unable to progress the intended way through this area. You could just speedrun it. It'd be very, very dangerous. Ah.
Part of a clue.
So, in this area, the clue has been ripped apart. This is Nekroth's great plan to defend his secrets, tearing it up and scattering it about the room. We have to defeat that plan, as we defeat all of Nekroth's plans. And along the way, kill vampires, collect Skittles, carefully placed next to the coffin as a little midnight snack when blood is not available. Although, of course, Skittles are not edible. Never make that mistake.
Get a clue.
I did recently learn, completely by coincidence, that Skittles, that being the name brand, the plural word, means there's no such thing as an individual Skittle. The Skittles brand does not want you to ever say the word Skittle. They always want it to be Skittles, and to facilitate that, they call an individual piece of the Skittles candy a Skittles lentil. Which, if that's not appetizing to you, you are not in the target audience for Skittles.
Before I lose it.
What Skye said there is that she's trying to get all the black vortices. That is not an essential part of completing this zone. The only reason to get all the black vortices is your own amusement, really. But it's good practice for upcoming zones. So there's the door. The ghost door. Wish it was a ghost. And I could just walk right through. If we knew the answer to the door, from, for example, having played this level previously, we could just type it in now. There's no check to make sure we actually did solve the puzzle. But alas, that would be poor Let's Playing, in my opinion. We got a lot of poetry to read, of course. And that's what you're all here for, I assure you. So first, we gotta find our way back to the beginning of this area, where that vampire who keeps hounding us is originally from. We're supposed to take the very first right in this level. You may have noticed that I intentionally avoided it. Nope, that was a huge mistake apparently, because now I'm dead. Alright, this is pretty much back on track. You can tell because we're being almost killed by a vampire again. Told you these guys are dangerous. And this is the only part of this level with such intentionally inefficient design. There he is. There's that vampire who I didn't kill previously.
I need to find all the black vortices before I lose it.
Once again, no you don't. But one last vampire, all the way at the end of this hallway. And with him, the final piece of the note.
I've got all the pieces. Who says I don't have a clue?
That'll give us the full note and put us right next to the tombstone.
Deep in granite over Ed, it rhymes with dead and dread and bled.
Okay, so we're looking for a word that ends in Ed.
Edward Coppersmith, you ate the bread of life, now drink the wine of death. Perky.
So bread. Bread is our word. Onward to bread-based victory. And it's a short path without the vampires to distract us. They did a fairly good job setting out this level to inform you in the overworld that we're gonna have to go collect notes and read tombstones to get the answers to these doors. As level design goes, that's better than I usually expect from Darkened Skye. I am fairly hard on this game. And I do mean fairly, because this game deserves it. And this next loading zone is going to be very similar to the previous. Not a lot of significant twists, but it's got a little something worth showing off.
My life force is slipping down the drain.
And a whole lot of vortices. First, put that guy to rest. Currently, they're still keeping it pretty much one vampire at a time. Unless you're not diligent about
Get a clue.
getting them good and killed. Good to remember that the tombstone's right back here. Near the entrance. The darkness and the generally labyrinthine design of this area, and the previous area for that matter, makes it kinda hard to get back to the starting area sometimes. I've had some issues, but I've got the gist of it down for each of these areas now. Nope.
Get a clue.
Got backstabbed by this vampire. So that's the twist. I may have oversold its cleverness. We're now going to occasionally find the coffin slightly before we find the vampire it's attached to. So if we immediately garlic every coffin we see, we will start creating some vampire ghosts. And this is where that mechanic is sort of supposed to pop up for the first time. So it is supposed to be kind of a unique twist over the previous level, but we know about the mechanic from experimentation. Kind of ruin the surprise. But anyway, this is the very starting area. Yeah, I talk a big game about knowing the layout here, but clearly could know it a little better. It's actually quite linear. I don't know how I got turned around. Probably because it's so exceedingly dark. Yep. Dead end again. So, I'm gonna do the smart thing. Use shadow vision. Okay. That has brought me right back where I came from. So this is the right path. Still can't seem to get through. I have never had this issue before. This is unique and confusing. Okay. That's not gonna do it. Areas in the near future are even worse than this. So that's gonna be fun. Yep, right, here we go. A lot easier than I made it look. Here's where they stack up two vampires. Yeah, a mind-blowing challenge. And a third very nearby. So I think we've now all got the entire layout of this map memorized. There's a vampire just beyond its own grave. Total ghost bait.
I need to find all the black vortices before I lose it.
Ah, canned lines. I'm actually going to intentionally make some zombie ghosts. That's not what we're doing here. Some vampire ghosts. Just for fun. It's sort of how the level is designed to be played, so why not play it that way? They're not very threatening, they're extremely slow.
Who says I don't have a clue?
That was the final clue piece. So what we should do, since we're so close, is go back and deal with that now. That's a bit of a shortcut. Just a bit, though. Now, the clue.
A toast to Mr. L. So dear who drank too long of bitter beer. Reverse the word at the end of a line to find what he liked better than wine.
The word at the end of the line. So, there's gonna be multiple lines. This one is a little more vague than the previous.
Oscar L'Amour. In stature tall and bearing regal, in friendship faithful as a beagle, proud and noble as an eagle, next life choose a job that's legal. Deepest regrets, the Sheriff's Department.
So the very last line was legal. It's not really a word if you spell it backwards. It's almost the same word, except with the vowels flipped. Oh, I went to the same dead end as before. I have learned nothing. But anyway, So what we're trying to make here is not really a word, but it did tell us that it's something that our dearly departed likes more than liquor. I might have just spoiled it. It's a misspelling of the word liquor. Here, let's have Skye tell us.
A toast to Mr. L. So dear who drank too long of bitter beer. Reverse the word at the end of a line to find what he liked better than wine.
Yep. So regal was the word at the very end of the line. And what they want us to spell is L-E-G-A-R. Oh, L-A-G-E-R. Which, I'm just realizing, is lager. More clever than I gave it credit for, honestly. These poems are well written. Relatively. This whole game is well written. Except for the redundant jokes. Pretty much like everything about the writing in this game. Wish I could say the same about the design, but overall, this is quite an enjoyable game. And the next door is all the way at the end here. Just slowly type out the code we've figured out. This part could use some work. But there we go. Yeah. And solving that puzzle brings us back outside through a different exit, one we saw earlier. Or at least had the option to. And out here, all of the worm drakes have respawned, as have all the health potions. That's a pretty good idea to scoop them all up. Not lose our lives in the process, but the next path is open. It's very, very odd to me that they let you back into the overworld just in between parts of this level. There we go. Still a net gain if I use one of the potions. And faster than actually fighting these things. So there we go. Let's get out of the overworld. This is the part. It's even more confusing than the last one, but I spent a lot of time here. I think I got this one figured out. Just gotta not die. Shouldn't be that hard, because this area is not all that hard. It's not really an escalation of the previous area in any way. Just a little darker, a little harder to see because of the design. And that's about it. But it's an excuse for more poetry.
Part of a clue.
And that's good enough for me. I really like that this area has its own little hub worlds.
A clue piece.
But it's kind of poorly used. Like, this whole dungeon thing should have just gone straight through, I think. All this vampire puzzle-solving business should have just been one area, and then at the end of it, maybe we could pop out back into the hub world. That's a relatively minor complaint as far as design elements go. Bury that guy for good. Collect another Skittles. That one's actually kind of useful, because with that, we can magnify the Ring of Rhyme.
Get a clue.
That makes for a very powerful Ring of Rhyme. And also another note was down there. Here's the door. Saw it briefly. Mind if I take a guess? Eh? No? I was just going off the theme. But I guess that would have been too easy. So, I intentionally went right at the bottom of the staircase at the entrance. Because if you go left, you hit a dead end. See, here's the entrance from whence we came. If you go left, this is where you hit a dead end with the tombstone there. Who was buried down here? We're already underground.
I've got all the pieces.
This is a very
Who says
awkward
I don't
place
have a clue?
to be buried. But alas.
In memory of Mrs. G, find the word you cannot see.
Alright, let's find it.
Mrs. Eleanor Gilbabble. They say that love is blind. I guess it must be true. I must have lost my mind to go and marry you. But when I've met my doom and said my last adieu, push over, make some room. I'm climbing in there too. A 2-for-1 special.
Very passive-aggressive tombstone. Ultimately, though, I can't tell if it's romantic or suicidal with this game. But off to punch in the secret word, the word of the day. It's mildly clever. I'm sure you've figured it out. And if not, you've got plenty of time to figure it out while I'm punching it in here. Ah. And it turns out the path of the vampires leads straight to the core of the earth. This is where we're gonna have to put them to rest, and you'll notice, killing this vampire, his corpse did not disappear. Here in the center of the vampire lair, they don't have coffins, so our garlic is useless. They go down, and a couple seconds later, no matter what you do, they pop back up. Over here, though, we have another clove of garlic. In case you missed the past two, they definitely want you to have it here.
I am the Prince of all Shadow, okay?
You're the boss vampire?
With a Y. Spell vampire with a Y.
And the very final king of all vampires is the gothiest of them all. Appropriately so. So let's equip some appropriate spells to deal with him. Like I said, we can now magnify a Ring of Rhyme. I had Psychic Blast equipped, which I can confirm is definitely just an area of effect version of old Strength Sap. It's of limited use. Rarely do you want to Strength Sap a big group of enemies at the same time. But what we do want to do is Magnify Magic, eat a potion, deal with some of these vampires, because having all three of them on our back while dealing with the boss, that is dangerous. But they'll be back soon, so we gotta fight this boss quick. You mind, buddy?
The gibbering chaos between the stars is bad.
This boss has a lot of dumb dialogue. Let's see what I can get him to say. It's hard to manipulate, because he's also very dangerous. Yeah, I didn't catch that one myself. Okay. He won't leave his little sphere of influence.
I drink black milk.
polish.
Ah, he drinks black nail polish. Of course. We all knew that deep down, but we wanted to confirm. So I'm gonna rhyme these three once the third one's back up. I'm gonna rhyme them now. Then I'm gonna go down here and rhyme him. Or not. Oh well. Fortunately, it is a super short jaunt from this, the spawn point of the level, the zone rather, to the boss. See, he's right there. You can see him from the spawn point.
I am the Prince of all Shadow.
Yeah, we know. So, this time, we don't need to play with him as much. He's still got like 4 or 5 lines of dialogue we haven't heard.
It only hurts when I laugh.
I drink black nail polish.
Oh, I didn't equip Ring of Rhyme. That was going to be a stylish way to kill him.
Abyss enfold you in its sickly embrace, okay? May the Stygian abyss enfold you in its sickly embrace, okay?
That was his final word. It's got to be a reference. I'm going to Google that later. But up this path, we will find the tomb of the vampire lord himself. He's the only one with a coffin here. He regenerates very slowly, but we gotta garlic him to put a permanent end to him, or else we cannot complete the area. Because once you put him down for good, he drops that special key. Let's take a look at it. It's a very simple key, made of a literal skeleton, and it opens a door. Who would have possibly imagined? And we never looked at the Black Vortex. That's been saving our life. Our life this whole time. I am clearly running on empty. But that's fortunate because so is the level. It's not fortunate at all, but it's acceptable. Because this is the end of the level, and we can get there without firewalking or anything. Once we open this door, we're free. So see you next time for an actual hint of our goal in the upcoming area.
It only hurts when I laugh. Ha! Ah! The delicious pain. Do you have any Celtic notebook I can, like, borrow?
Sometimes death is better
Than other stuff? Oh, sickness. Oh, nausea. Oh, pitiless pain. Life is all just pointless suffering and stuff. My dog is named Lestat.